All right, so let's have a conversation about co-vocational, bivocational, no vocational. First of all, it's probably worth saying some, definitions here. How I think about these things is that bivocational is a pastor who says, I'm going to work a job until my church can afford to pay me full time. Essentially, bivocational is I'm doing this because I have to. I don't really want to, but I can't afford to go full time with my church. But as soon as I can, I'm done. That's how I would interpret bivocational. Co-vocational is a pastor who says, no, my job outside of ministry is part of my ministry. And even if my church could afford to pay me, I'm still going to keep doing this job because I look at all of my life as a ministry. That's co-vocational. No vocational is a pastor who actually receives no salary from the church. They're a full volunteer for their church, and they have a full-time job, which is always going to be there. It's a mainstay in their life. So when you're navigating, and if you're watching this video, I'm sure you're navigating through what is your next step. You're looking at the church budget, you're a full-time pastor, you can't quite make ends meet, your family is struggling, and you're thinking, I have to go find another way to make some income. So there's a few things that I would encourage you to do. The first thing I would want you to do is assess. Just take a step backwards, kind of assess your budget, assess your team, assess your operation. Don't press the panic button, just take a step backwards. I think it's very easy for us to fall into a scarcity mentality when it comes to things like this, but look at it through an abundance mentality. How has God blessed you? What resources has He provided for you? What volunteers, staff has He given you? What tithes and offerings and blessings has He given you financially? Look at those through just a very optimistic view that these are all the things that I have. It might not be everything I want, but it's everything I need for the time being. So look at that and then begin thinking through, okay, if I'm going to make the switch to BiVo, CoVo, or NoVo, what's that going to look like tangibly? Am I going to look for a full-time job working 40 hours a week where I'm going to receive maybe a little bit of a stipend from the church or no money from the church? Am I going to find a part-time job where most of my income will still come from the church, but I'm going to do something for 5, 10, 20 hours a week on the side? Am I going to start my own business, side business, doing something to make some extra money? Like, how am I going to weigh out the income? How am I going to mix my income? It's going to be 80-20, 50-50, 90-10, 100-0, one direction or another. So really think through that. For me, I did two things as a co-vocational pastor. I worked in the gig economy. So that was a part-time job, and I received the majority of my income from the church and some from the side gig. And then I also flipped it, the second half of my ministry, where I worked full-time in corporate America and received a part-time stipend from the church. I never did no vocational other than when I was first launching the church. I went 18 months without receiving a penny of compensation, which was tough, but it was manageable because my wife was working, we had no kids, and I was working a full-time job. So, with that being said, what path are you going to choose? And I think a big part of that is looking at your budget and figuring out, okay, how much time and energy can I commit to the church? And the way that you can kind of reverse engineer that is look at your team. Do you have an elder who you can share the responsibility of preaching with? Do you have a worship director who could take on more responsibility? Do you have a kids worker who can take on more? Whatever the case might be, I don't know the makeup of your church. I'd love to learn more about it if you would be interested in talking, but you have to just figure out that part out. How much can I give away? And how much can I also eliminate, just completely do away with? Because here's the biggest mistake I see pastors make. They say, okay, I'm going to go bivocational, co-vocational, whatever, find a different job, a different source of income, but I'm going to keep doing everything I'm already doing as a full-time pastor. That's not going to work. That is a recipe for burnout and disaster. So assess, right? Look at your budget, kind of look at your people, figure out kind of what the future configuration could look like for your vocation, and follow our steps and follow our process, and we'll help you get there. Thanks for watching.